So hello again, my YouTube lovelies, and welcome to this episode 7 of the Incredible Bulk. So the removal of the bulkhead, and it wasn't too bad, I suppose, looking back at it, but it wasn't the easiest thing. The one thing I've learnt over the last year or so in building this van is sometimes things that you think are going to be really easy don't always pan out as easy as you think, and those that more difficult jobs end up being easier than you would think as well. It's a bizarre one. The bulkhead, when I looked at it first of all, I thought, no, this looks okay, this is just a matter of some nuts that needs to be undone. And so that's exactly what I started doing. I think there were 5 nuts in total along the very top edge of the bulkhead, and I used a wrench or a AJ or spanner, whatever you want to call it, and an adjustable spanner, small one, and I used that in order to undo all of the nuts. I think they had some kind of washer fitting as well over the bolt head. But the top ones were fairly easy to do, to be honest with you. They came out not too bad. And I then loosened 5 more along the bottom. And so my head was thinking, well, this actually is not too bad. And the bottom ones, although I started, I think, originally with an adjustable spanner, it actually worked out easier to do it with a socket spanner, so I put a socket spanner on it and I used that instead. So they came out, and then I was then faced with these rivets along the side, and there was no other means or way of taking the panel off. I thought at first glance that it was literally just a matter of undoing these 10 nuts. I was wrong. So I left that for a while, and then I decided to start on doing the plastic bit over the top of the cab. You've got the lining of the head lining inside the cab, the sort of carpety bit, and then there's a kind of like a metalwork, a small sort of skeletal metalwork, which I think houses the all of the electrics for the dome lights, etc., and reading light. And then above that, there's this a big plastic tray, for better want of a word, and it has these little cutouts in it. I think it was designed originally, it may have had tools in there or various bits that came with the van when it was first manufactured. Now these had, if I remember right, I think they had some clips on. I've been going through my footage, by the way, and I write it all down just so that I can kind of keep current with this video. And when I look at the footage, I'm pretty sure there were these little clips that they just sort of popped out along the front edge, i.e. the edge that's facing the cargo hold. But then after that, it was a real chore to actually find and then actually access the nuts that secured it to the front end of the cab. They were basically situated underneath the plastic itself, and there's like a metal ridge, and there were, how many nuts were there? I can't remember now. 3 or 4 nuts per plastic section. The plastic was in 2 parts. And these nuts were an absolute to get out. They really were. They were unbelievable, because you had to lift up the plastic and then you had to get the spanner in. You couldn't get a socket spanner in because there wasn't enough room. So you had to get like an adjustable spanner in, and then basically, whilst lifting up the plastic tray, you were then trying to get out these spanners, and it was these nuts rather, and it was freaking difficult. And of course, you know, the spanner kept slipping, and then you started to wear the nut away and everything, and I was just like, oh, fucking hell, this is just getting silly. But I'm a stubborn so and I just carried on, and eventually I got them out. I reckon that the reason why they were such a pain was probably because that plastic housing was probably put in before the headliner went inside the cab, so they would have been really easy to access. But I'm trying to access with the headliner still in place. I didn't want to take that out, and yeah, it was just a bit of a, you know, but I did it, and you know, my stubbornness and perseverance prevailed in the end, and I managed to get the plastic trays out. So that section's out, and I now sort of turn my attention back to the bulkhead. Now I had to go out and buy an angle grinder because I couldn't see. I could see that there were rivets in. I can't remember now. I think there was like 5 or 6 rivets aside. And there was no way that I could access the other side from the cab side. I couldn't access the back of these rivets in any way, shape or form whatsoever. So I went to the DIY store, and I just bought myself an angle grinder, and I just grounded the heads off the rivets. That's a shame. The lights have gone out. Right. Wait there. I'll be back. You're still with me? Oh, the joys of living on batteries, eh? Okay, so where were we? So I bought myself an angle grinder, okay? And I decided to just basically grind the heads away. I was going on blind faith here, to be honest with you, but I just figured if I can get the rivet head off, then surely that's just going to reveal the stem of the rivet, and then the thing should just pull away. So I worked myself down the left hand side, or where the cargo sliding door was, and ground away all of the rivet heads. I took off the handle that's used for jumping in and out of the cargo hold, and once I'd taken all those rivets off on the left hand side, I then sort of got in there with a jemmy bar and then basically prized it away. And from that point then I was a big sigh of relief, because then I knew that it was free and there was nothing hidden that was going to hinder me on the other side. And then I basically got over to the other side and ground away the rivets on the right hand side, and from that point the panel basically loosened off. And taking away the panel actually, believe it or not, wasn't as heavy as I expected either. I thought it was just going to be this incredible mass of steel, but actually it wasn't too bad at all. In fact, I took it to a metal merchant to sell, to see if they could get any money for it, and I didn't get anything for it. I don't think I got a thing for it. I think if it was anything, it was literally either a couple of pound or whatever, which I just put straight into the charity box that they had there or something like that. It was ridiculous. But anyway, I got rid of it responsibly, and got naff all. But anyway, charity got something. Bless them. Don't even know what chariot it was either. Anyway, I digress. After I'd taken the panel away, I was left with a load of metal pieces of the rivets that were sticking out of the metal sort of subframe that held the bulkhead in. So I basically then ground away at those with the grinder and just basically got that all flat. Any debris that was there, I just basically flattened it all off. And yeah, it was a real sort of breakthrough, because having got rid of that, I was now suddenly, for the first time, I had the van in its empty entirety. You know, it was there for the first time where I could see every nook and cranny, and it was ready to start work on. It was just, yeah, it was a real relief. It was really funny driving the van around as well with no bulkhead, because it was incredibly noisy, and with no lining in or anything like that. God, it was yeah, it was really, really noisy, and it was quite feisty as well, because the van was really, really light. There was a couple of times that I did some cheeky little power slides around roundabouts and stuff like that, because it was a little bit, you know, oi on the back end. So yeah, that was interesting. Those were interesting times. Yeah, word of warning, if there is one, when you're grinding away with an angle grinder, obviously there's a shitload of sparks that go flying everywhere. I suppose I should have, well, I suppose it didn't really matter so much, because it was just metal work back here, but I was always aware of any sparks that were going into the cab. So, you know, just don't leave the van straight away after you've done a bit of grinding, just in case a loose spark went off somewhere and sort of like decided to sort of like bury itself into the fabric of your seat and start a fire or something like that. So yeah, ideally I suppose you really want to put up some kind of screen or something like that, but I didn't have that foresight. But I got away with it and it was okay. Also wear safety goggles, be safe, and gloves, and maybe a mask. I don't know, I think I might have had a mask on, because those sparks get everywhere. Now I'm at a stage where I can see the van in its entirety. There was revealed under the wheel arches, as I said in the previous episode, when I took the wooden wheel arch covers out from the original ply lining, because they were glued in, it pulled away some of the metalwork of the wheel arches, so it revealed some holes. So at this stage what I did do is I just got a file, and I filed down, tidied up a lot of the rust, got rid of a lot of the really nasty rust, filed it all down, and then with the angle grinder then just sort of ground away until I could get everything back to a nice bare metal. And did that all around the wheel arches as much as possible, and any other areas of nasty rust that was around. Also, I suppose actually investing in the grinder was quite good, because also I was able to see whether there were any screw heads that were left over from when I pulled the floor up, which didn't come up. I was able to grind those down as well and everything. And needless to say, I gave the back of the van yet another clean. I gave it another hoover, and then this was the first time that I think I actually started to wipe it down. So I got a damp cloth with some soap, soapy water. I think it might have been like some crikey, I don't know, some bathroom or kitchen spray type thing. Put that in a nice bucket of hot water and gave it a clean. This was probably now the second clean. You know, I've done a lot of cleans of this van, but yeah, it was really mucky in here. And I can imagine some people with some of the vehicles that they get are probably even worse than mine, so God, I dread to think what people have to clean up in the back of their vans prior to building. But there we go. So that was that episode, or this episode rather, explaining how that bulkhead went out, etc. We'll leave it there, I think, with this one. In the next episode, episode 8, we'll talk about the preparation of the cargo hold for build. There's some little odd jobs that needed doing, a bit of fiberglassing, more cleaning, etc., a little bit of paintwork here and there. So that's in the next episode. I hope that you are enjoying these build episodes, and if you are, give us a thumbs up, and please comment and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Cheers.